During my ordination process, the subject of arts ministry was often at the forefront. Arts ministry is a passion of mine, and I told the committee on ministry that was the direction I felt God wanted me to go. When I told them that I was ready to move forward with my process, they asked me to feel free to interpret the ordination paper in a way that was not necessarily a paper. I don't think they really knew what they were asking, but I thought it was very brave of them, and to me, an act of faith. I got the impression that they were expecting me to create a work of art of some kind, and I deeply appreciated the trust that they placed in me to honor the ordination process. I felt blessed to be part of this movement of the Holy Spirit, inviting us to try something new, to experiment, to be bold. I took a few days to think about it. For some reason, creating a piece of art didn't feel right, but I knew that art had to be integral to the project. I knew that it had to represent who I was as a person. So I started thinking, what really inspires me? It eventually dawned on me that there was a format for a project that could fairly easily incorporate theology, history, my spiritual journey, as well as art, and is something that deeply, deeply resonates with who I am. I could make a game. Seminary wasn't an easy decision for me. I had dropped out of college because I was resisting God's call to ministry. I didn't like school, and I knew that studying to become a pastor would take a lot of school. But after many long years of trying to convince God that I could do something else, I finally relented and did what I had to do in order to go to seminary. And it was at seminary that I was introduced to the world of gaming. A lot of my classmates had a deep, abiding love of card games and board games and role-playing games, and I got swept up in it. It wasn't that I had never played games before, but this was a whole other level. And one day, I realized that there were actual people out there who had invented these games, which meant that I could invent games. So that's what I did. For the past few years, I have been designing board games and card games. I decided that I wanted to create a tool that the church could use to teach youth and new members, or anyone else who wanted to learn about the history and theology of the UCC, and to engage them in a game that would model the church's polity and theology. Covenant is about relationships. The way the cards end up being connected to each other represents how the things in our lives and the different parts of the UCC are related to each other. And they show how our relationships to certain things can sometimes impede our relationships with each other and with God. Covenant is a cooperative card game involving teamwork, communication, and strategy. Players must work together to collectively accumulate 100 points by matching sets of covenant cards and theology cards on the table before the draw pile runs out. Cards are laid out on the table as they are played, matching the colors of the cards they are played next to. Here you can see that gold is next to gold, red is next to red, and blue is next to blue. And here you have transition cards that are more than one color. There are only 3 colors in the game: red, blue, and gold. During the game, players will need to deal with obstacles by playing them from their hands, breaking their relationships to them, and overcoming them with gifts of the Spirit. The game models UCC polity through the cooperative aspect of the game, the relational aspects of the cards, and how the game fosters communication. Players must work together to win the game, but there is no hierarchical structure that allows one player to dominate the others. No player may tell another player what to do. Each player must decide on their own what to do on their turn, while hopefully taking into consideration what the other players have said about what cards they have in their hands and what plays they intend to make. You don't need to know anything about the UCC in order to play Covenant, but it is my hope that whoever plays, whether they realize it or not, will learn something about the UCC. I've included two optional activities for players once they have completed the game: a set of reflection questions and instructions for Lectio Divina that will allow the players to use the final layout of the cards at the end of the game for a guided meditation. I was drawn to the UCC because of the welcoming and relational nature of the church. It is because of my belief in the church's mission that I have created this game. The UCC has become my denominational home, providing me with a safe place to go when I wasn't sure where I belonged. I believe that the UCC functions as an important safety net for Christians of all denominations when they feel like the denominations they belong to no longer resonates with who they are. Where would all these people be if not for the United Church of Christ? God has called me to the UCC. Ministry is my vocation, and this is my home.